with cows in the boat, and they needed hay and grass to keep them over the winter, and that's what it doesn't translate into English culture.
Last question.
Yeah, the first question was asked, but the second one is the mainstream, or as Ezra Levant likes to say, consensus media. They're the most driven for the pro-global warming and climate change people. They're the most, because they reach so many people, they're the most difficult to win over, I find. How would we, it's like the CBC, CTV, the big networks, the Globe and Mail, China Star, they don't want to publish articles and books which has experts on this. That's what I thought.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, you're saying something that's similar to what Tom was saying. I mean, I'm not sure what to do. I've been asked this many times, and I remember once being interviewed by André Platt, who was the editor of La Presse in the Montreal newspaper. And I was being very pessimistic. In this case, it was about, we were talking about education, because I was a teacher for many, many years, and I wrote several books on education, praxis, and theory, and so on. And I was comparing the educational apparatus to the Titanic. Yeah, they were going down, but there's nowhere. We're going down. It's inevitable. And he came out to the college and interviewed me, and he said, we're speaking in French, but he said, translate, he said, why do you keep teaching? Why do you keep writing books on education if you believe we're sinking and that it's inevitable? And my answer was, because I want to stay afloat for as long as possible. You see, all my writing, and what I'm doing in this book, and maybe what most of you are doing, what we're doing is bailing. We're trying to keep the ship afloat for as long as possible, for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. If we are to be realistic, we do know that we are going down. I mean, this again is the historical sinusoidal wave. You know, this is what Polybius wrote about. It's what Ibn Khaldun wrote about. It's what Giambattista Vico wrote about. It's what the decline of the Roman Empire was all about. It's what Arnold Toynbee, who did not love Jews, but nevertheless, I don't care for Arnold Toynbee, but this was one of his central themes, and challenge and response and so on. I think, you know, Western civilization isn't forever, and the United States isn't eternal, and it might be that Obama is the one who signals the end of the greatest civilization or empire or republic or whatever you want to call it that the planet has ever known. This is inevitable. I'm not sure that any of us are going to be around long enough to be able to decide or to see for ourselves what the eventual historical result is going to be. I suspect that at some point in the future there will be a major conflict between Islam and China. I think these are the two great powers that will rise in this kind of civilizational roller coaster that seems to be the nature of things. I feel that what we call Western civilization is now approaching its end. Conrad Cruz O'Brien in The Eve of the Millennium says that we have 200 years. An imam speaking in Paris said that we have another generation or two. I don't know what the answer there is, but I do know that we are not going to survive indefinitely. I do know that Islam will probably win the battle that is taking place today, and probably the global warmists will take over, and we're going to live in a statist theocracy, or our children or grandchildren will in the future. I believe this is inevitable. But I don't think I'm being pessimistic. I think I'm just being realistic. But I don't think it's inevitable tomorrow. It might be inevitable the day after tomorrow, or a decade from now, or a century from now. I don't know. But what I'm doing, and what I think many people like Bruce Bauer and David Horowitz and Victor Davis Hanson and Bruce Thornton and many of the great historians and thinkers of our time. Bruce Bauer is marvelous. You should read his new book, The Victims of Revolution. I believe that what we're doing is just trying to keep the boat afloat for as long as we possibly can.
Well, let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much, David, for bringing it in.